But in the book, what I do is I start going through what are the 8 or 10 principles that we learned from the real big mountains that we learned to get through not just cancer. It could be finances, it could be relationships, it could be grief. Because we've been up that mountain. What can we show you that might be of help?
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. Today I'm on the line with Mr. Gary Sinclair, and Gary and we're going to be talking about his journey with his wife and himself as mountain climbers, and in addressing some challenges that they've both faced throughout their life. So with that being said, welcome to the show, Gary.
Thank you so much. It's great to talk with you. I love the idea of your show.
Thank you so very much. Yes, it's a passion of mine, and talking about passions, I've seen through your writing that something very important came up in your lives, which we can deep dive into. Now, for everybody who's on the show today, Gary is a leadership trainer. He's a coach, an author, and motivational speaker. But our primary focus, which we can talk about leadership and those sorts of things later on in the call, but today's primary focus is about his book, Never Quit Climbing. But before we do that, Gary, I'd love to learn a little bit more about yourself, where you're located, what you like to do in your pastime, and those types of things.
You bet. Well, we currently live in Indianapolis, Indiana, home of the Indy 500.
Beautiful
race, and we have grew up in the Midwest, but then lived 8 wonderful years in Austin, Texas, our sabbatical from the snow, as we like to call it. We have been married for 44 years later this month. We have 2 grown children, a boy and a girl. Our son is in radio and public address announcing. Our daughter is a mom, but does some photography and graphics, and we have 6 grand boys, and
wow.
They're fun. So so we're kind of at that retirement stage of life, but we're not ready to do that. We've kind of committed ourselves to help people, and some of that is the whole overcoming piece that I'm sure we'll talk about. But it's just it's a good stage of life. We're kind of got some freedom to do that, and so we're kind of seeing where it goes.
Yeah, thank you very much for the insight. Now, one of the things that just popped to mind, Gary, is when you were talking about retirement, is humans need to be goal setters. What sort of goals are you setting for yourself at this stage?
Yeah, I think, well, one, we want to stay healthy, and of course, everybody in the world has been wrestling with that one.
Oh, yeah.
But our world has been education, faith journeys, faith jobs, and then leadership training and all that. But we've decided that at this stage of life, we'd love to be able to have a little more freedom to just help other people, whether it's overcoming a mountain, which we can talk about, but some of it is, just dealing with life, dealing with your marriage, giving some money away. We're not rich, but, we want to share some of what we have. So we're still figuring it out. And we think that maybe what's going to happen is we're going to be figuring it out until the day we die, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it and see what happens.
That's wonderful. You are the salt of the earth. It's clear to me. I've read through some of the praises that you have received for your work, both from counselling perspective, as well as your work through your book. And at this stage, I'd love to shift gears, if we could, Gary, and start talking about your books. You've written more than one, is that correct?
Yeah, I've just written my 5th. My first 2 were pretty basic. One was on marriage, and one was on parenting, called Turn Up or Turn Around Your Marriage, Turn Up or Turn Around Your Parenting. They're very practical. Just, hey, what did we learn the hard way? And we're passing it on to you, and here it is in a little kind of book form. So those were fun, kind of got started, had done a little writing, in the magazine world, periodical world. But So we started with those, but then Never Quit Climbing really came out of the last 15 years of telling our story. And so
Hmm.
finally put that down last year and then wrote a new book that I'm really excited about. There's two versions of it, but I'll give you the one version. It's called Now, and it's called Avoiding Life in the Someday Syndrome. And there are a lot of people who, everything goes into this kind of file of someday file.
Hmm.
And sometimes we do have to put things off, but boy, sometimes we just need to say, no, no, why wait? There are people who say, well, we'll travel after we retire, or we'll do this with our kids someday. And someday never comes. And so I talk a little bit about why we go to the someday deal.
Hmm.
And I've been there myself. In fact, it took me a long time to write the book. It's kind of a funny introduction that I have to confess that I lived in the someday syndrome for a long time. So anyways, those are some of the things we've been doing, and we'll see where that one goes.
Yeah, I know that the biggest teacher is life itself.
Yeah,
In turn, you become the educator through those experiences. Um, I wonder if we could talk in detail about your book, Never Quit Climbing, because it struck
sure.
me as a very life driven experience. The timing was very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's talk about that.
sure. You bet. Well, I'm a mountain guy. I'm not a pro. I'm not an Alex Honnold. I've never
Hmm.
climbed El Cap, but I've loved the mountains since I was a kid. I tell a little of that story in the book. And so we started doing stuff with our kids. Well, I made one of my goals, we talked about goals, was to climb three 14,000 foot, what'd that be, 4,000 meter peaks um, before my son got out of high school. I want to do something as a dad with my son. And we did that. And we actually did a fourth one. I did three with my daughter, same idea. And then I did one with my wife, which was just before the whole cancer diagnosis. But
Mm.
so I've had this phrase, never quit climbing, for a while, but boy, it came alive when she got cancer, that 3 month diagnosis after she did her first 14er, as they're called. And we started learning as we went through that. And I'd love to say we learned it right away. We didn't.
Mm.
We learned as we went. Hey, we have to climb this cancer mountain, because it was like Mount Everest to us. We have to climb this cancer mountain the same way we climb a regular mountain. And all of a sudden, that started to be helpful. It didn't take the mountain away. But in the book, what I do is I start going through what are the 8 or 10 principles that we learned from the real big mountains that we learned to get through, not just cancer. It could be finances, it could be relationships, it could be grief. What are some things that will help you? Because we've been up that mountain. What can we show you that might be of help? And so, we can talk about some of those, but that's the gist of the book.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Again, life is the biggest teacher. I wonder
Yep.
if we can, I guess, jump to the middle and look at you and your wife on your journey. You have ascended and met that summit. You are right at the top of this journey. At what point did you realize that this was all going to be useful for you to put into a book?
Yeah, probably after the fact.
Mm. Yeah.
We told the story, and I most of my books I have written because I found myself saying the same things over and over to a lot of different people. And I thought, well, if I speak on it, that's great, but I can't cover the whole topic. So let me put this in a book. Or my neighbor just tonight, about an hour ago, I was sitting out front and he was telling me his story. And I said, uh, are you guys readers? I just want to make sure they would like to read. And I said, I got a book for you. It's free. I'm giving it to you. Here you go. And I signed it for them and joked that they could sell it on eBay tonight and all that. But there, that was so fun to have that, to say, here's something that just might help you walk your journey a little bit. It's not an easy answer, but it might be some help. So yeah, it's somewhere down the road. We just finally said, I got to write this down.
Yeah.
And it was the easiest book in the world to write because it was in our soul. I mean, we lived
Retrospective.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived it. I mean, I could almost written the whole thing without any notes. And so it was fun to do.
this whole analogy of, climbing this mountain, it's just so helpful because, we all know, even without doing it, it just inherently that climbing a mountain is not an easy thing to do. So
No, it is
using
not.
that idea and helping others, I'm sure there have been so many people that have come back and given you feedback on just how wonderful and useful and practical the concepts inside this book are. Tell me, how
Yeah.
did you feel, when you first started to receive accolades for this book?
Yeah, it was so great. I have a blue wristband that I've made up. It's a little narrow one, and people seem to like it. But it's on one side it says "Never quit climbing." On the other little side it says "The view from the top is worth it." And I have hundreds of them, and I give them away. I gave some away this weekend, and it's so fun because I mean I was driving for Lyft for a while, and I was doing a number of things, and I would have almost every day somebody in my car and they just start talking. I didn't bring it up. I'm like their bartender or their
Yep.
hairstylist, and they just start telling me stuff. And I say, well, I can't fix that, but here's a little something I learned. I say, here's a present for you. Do what you want with it. And I mean, some of them literally are sobbing in the back of the car because they're going, you don't know how much I needed this today.
Yeah.
Wow, that is worth the world. I mean, if you're having a bad day, that changes everything.
May I
I,
ask,
yeah,
Gary, with your wonderful wife, how has this affected her mindset to life?
yeah. Well, the cool thing is that one, she has helped particularly a lot of women who are going through, a cancer, a similar kind of thing. She's
Hmm.
on the phone with them. She's sharing, what kind of chemo are you have? I mean, stuff I can't address.
The
And,
details,
and she
yeah.
says, I've been there, hey, I've been up that mountain. And so she's as big a helper as I am. And though she didn't write the book, she's often, goes with me and she shares her side of the story, or she's just doing it one-on-one. That we just found, again, the lady we talked to across the street, we did not know she some of her illnesses. And Jackie's a great help in that kind of a setting. So she's as much a part of it as I am, and that's so fun that we do it together.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. I've heard the saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. Do you find that having somebody there beside you as a team, as a partnership, has helped you walk this difficult road?
It is, and one of the principles, if I could share one, and there are a couple that I put right at the top, and this is one of them. You don't climb alone. You're a fool to climb a mountain by yourself,
Hmm.
and some do it. Well, that's a great principle when you're going through a personal mountain. And so, yeah, Jackie, I was her helper and she was mine. But other people, we've told them, look, don't climb by yourself. You don't have to have 100 people. Pick your people carefully. My wife had a gal that would take her to some of her chemo treatments. The interesting thing is that woman named Anne had breast and lung cancer. They were calling it terminal 15 years ago. She's still alive today, by the way.
Amazing.
But she would take Jackie, on a snowy day in a car with heated seats, and she would get her to the hospital or wherever she needed to go on days when I couldn't do it. And Jackie loved that, but so did this gal. And I think it was a part of her healing and part of her managing her cancer was to help somebody else, and so, yeah, having another person alongside is great. Here's the other thing that you got to be careful with, Rick, and that is that people forget about the caregiver. When somebody has particularly an illness,
Hmm.
there's that husband, there's that wife, there's that mom, dad, whatever, and they are putting a ton of energy into helping this person, but it's easy to forget about them. And so, what I've been the caregiver, and so I can kind of, hone in on people and say, hey, this has been hard on you too, hasn't it? And so, that whole coming up the mountain with somebody else is really a big deal.
This brings out for me, Gary, the wonderfully warm, helpful, giving, present nature of human nature.
You
There is
bet.
some
Yeah.
good in people still left, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you use the word presence, and I love that word. Sometimes it's just being there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's so much easier to climb a mountain when you got somebody who's just doing it with you. So, yeah, very
Yeah,
true.
You are the very reason I'm doing this call, Gary. I love speaking with individuals like yourself who have had real life experiences. Now, on your journey to educate others through your own experience, where do you find your audience? Are they in business? Are they in marriages? What type of audience that you speak to? Almost
Yeah, well,
everyone, I suspect.
it's a great question. Well, I do a number of these things. I did a climbing show actually in Colorado. That was
Hmm.
kind of fun, where they talked to climbers, and so that that really resonated. But yeah, a lot of times my speaking deal I do in business, and it's leadership training. But what they ask me to do is they say, talk about this, because we got people who work for us who are a mess, and they've got finances or relationship struggles or whatever, and they don't know what to do with that. And they'll be better workers if they could get a hold of some of this kind of thing. So some of what I do, that's part of my audience. Some of it is in the church faith community. Some of it's in education. I've been going to some Rotary clubs of late,
Hmm.
just social groups and libraries. I did a whole library team thing, and but they wanted to hear about this. So it's kind of where I'm at in this journey, and and you do these great things with helping people in a business. I don't know if this will be a business or not. I try to, make a little money from it, and we're trying to we're doing some other. I got another consultant helping me on some things, but yeah, they're all over the place, and some of it's just individual. I mean, I'll be sitting in a waiting room somewhere, and you just get talking to the person next to you, and
Yeah,
then
well,
all of a sudden,
yeah.
there they go.
You
Here we
could,
are.
I mean, if we stop and think about what business is in it, at its core, it's about service, and
You bet.
you are providing something that serves others. So I absolutely think there's an opportunity to, I guess, convert that value into a money exchange or some sort of other value
Well,
proposition.
sure. And I think one of the missing links in a lot of leadership today is that leaders don't take time to find out what's going on in the life of their people. I listened to one of your other sessions earlier, and
Hmm.
I loved your first question was, no, we're not going to talk about that right yet. Let's just talk about you. And I thought, you're doing that. I mean, you're saying, wait, there's more to this business. There's more to this than just the money and the product. Those are important
Oh
things,
yeah.
but there's people. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
No, it's wonderful, Gary. You're definitely on the same page because at the end of the day, there are people behind businesses and there are people behind problems that need other human beings there to help them work through and sort
Yeah.
through their piles of problems. Now, you seem to me that you love writing, and
Mhm.
this latest book or all of your books, I suspect, just flew off the pen. Knowing that, is there more to come?
Well, yeah, I'm actually working on a book. Should never give out a title. Someone can steal it, I guess, but you can't copyright a title anyways. Uh, and I'm calling it Leading for the Health of It. And the play on words, but there are a lot of leaders in all sorts of arenas that are not healthy. They may be successful, but they're not healthy. They're not healthy, inwardly. They're not healthy emotionally. They're not healthy honestly. They're not healthy at home or whatever. And so
Hmm.
I'm just trying to write a book. Others I know have addressed this at times, but a lot of the leadership books I read are, about running your organization and being organized, and it's great. There are a lot of wonderful writers out there who are just way better than on that than I am. But I just want to address maybe 7 or 8 core principles of healthy leadership. So I'm just getting started on that one, but that's probably my next title or something like
Thank you very much for the insight. I'm sure nobody's going to steal this wonderful book. Please
that.
don't. It's Gary's. He's taken ownership. Now,
Yeah,
Gary,
yeah.
I wonder, given that you've talked about being a healthy individual, what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I have any. I can't even remember what day it is anymore. When well, part of the Corona thing didn't help us, right? Because we all
No.
had to be at home, and we didn't have our markers for, oh, this is Wednesday. On Wednesday, I do that.
Hmm.
So that didn't help. But but I try to exercise, try to be in shape. I still want to I've done 9 of these big mountains and I want to get to the 10th one. And I don't know, it's getting more challenging, but it keeps me motivated to at least stay in shape a little bit. This is more of a weekly thing, but my wife and I, if anybody's listening, thinking about, their marriage, people always ask me, what's kept you guys going for 44 years, and, it's certainly not been perfect, but, or as I like to joke, they've been 38 of the happiest years of my life. Um, but, what keeps you going? And I always say, I'll tell you the number one thing for us, it doesn't mean it's for everybody. The number one thing for us is we have made time for each other every week, every week. Now that you can do that in a lot of little ways, and you should, but we have one day a week. Some years it was a half day. It was all we could swing or all we could afford. But right now it's Thursday. I can just tell you. And every Thursday, there are times when I'm out of town or something comes up, but we always know that Thursday, the next one, whatever it is, day of the week, in this case Thursday, we're going to be out hiking. We're going to be together. We might be running errands, but it's our day. We always have lunch. We always look each other in the eye. And, it's not heavy every time. It might be, one week, but it's just good. And we just kind of had sent this message: you're important enough that we will give each other that time. And we've had some of the coolest times, in the bad weather, it's museums, and other weeks it's a movie, and sometimes it's a shopping trip, and other times it's a hiking trail. And that's just been so essential. And that's in our day or our week, at least on a regular basis. We're both big faith people. We trust our faith and our God a lot. And so, we'll spend time, reading. And of course, on the weekends, we try to, get with other people of faith. And that just kind of enhances our world. And then 3 mornings a week, I do a Facebook Live thing. I call it Climb with Gary. It's on at, 7:30 in the morning Eastern. So I don't know what that is for you. But it's just 10, 15 minutes. I'm a musician, so I'll play a little something fun to keep us going. And I give a little challenge, something practical to learn. It might be biblical. It might just be general. And I started where I would get about 20 or 30 views. And last week I had 175.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh.
People like it. They, it's just kind of helpful to them, and it's very low key, but we have a lot of fun doing it. And so that's part of my day, at least 3 mornings a week. I have grandkids, so when I can get time, in fact, not tomorrow, but on Wednesday, my oldest boy here gets a bike ride. We do a trail of, I don't know how many miles we'll do, but he gets a bike ride with, he calls me Yaya. We go with the Chinese name.
Uh-huh.
And he calls, and so he's excited about that, and I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing your life with us, because it does make the difference. It's that humanistic side of things. I want to put on your hiking boots and see life through your eyes as you're walking the trail with your wife, and you're spending that day. You can hear the crunching of the granite below you and the stones and everything else, and you take in that cool, clear, crisp, fresh air. How do you feel when you're walking a trail?
Well, I'll tell you what my wife says, because it explains it the best. She says, I literally see the tension go out of your body the longer we hike. She said, I can see it. She said, I can almost watch it. And she's right. And so that, sometimes we're not saying anything for a while, and other times, she loves photography. So sometimes she'll have her camera, sometimes she won't. And she'll get these really cool pictures of an eagle or whatever. And so everyone's different, but it's like, it's almost, you can just feel it's sort of like caffeine in the morning. You can just sort of feel, you can feel it kind of welling up in your body, and you go, this is good. I'll tell you, when I'm on the side of a mountain or I'm on a mountain trail, and it's so quiet you can't hear anything. I mean, that's a holy moment for me. That's just something, and
Something
it does
magical.
wonders. Yep, something your mind clears out. It's so good.
Speaking of things magical, Gary, this has
Yep.
been such a great call. I, I always like to ask when people want to find you and they want to learn more about you, and in fact get their hands on your books. Where will
Yep.
they find you?
Yeah, neverquitclimbing.com.
What a great domain
Really
name!
easy. Yep, that's where it's the website. It's got info on the books. It's got contact info. It's got a little bit about our story. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it.
Fantastic. Well, look, everybody who's been on the call with us today, you know, there's some power in living life to the fullest and picking up that pen and turning your experiences into a book that helps others. Gary, in closing, thank you so very much for the wonderful work that you're doing to help others. And thank you very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.